2. Ivan Ilyitch's life had been most simple and most ordinary, and therefore most terrible. He had been a member of the Court of Justice and died at the age of 45. His father had been an official who, after serving in various ministries and departments in Petersburg, had made the sort of career which brings men to positions from which, by reason of their long service, they cannot be dismissed, though they are obviously unfit to hold any responsible position, and for whom, therefore, posts are specially created, which, though fictitious, carry salaries of from 6,000 to 10,000 roubles that are not fictitious, and in receipt of which they live on to a great age. Such was the Privy Councillor and superfluous member of various superfluous institutions, Ilya Epimovitch Golovin. He had 3 sons, of whom Ivan Ilyitch was the second. The eldest son was following in his father's footsteps, only in another department, and was already approaching that stage in the service at which a similar sinecure would be reached. The third son was a failure. He had ruined his prospects in a number of positions, and was not serving in the railway department. His father and brothers, and still more their wives, not merely disliked meeting him, but avoided remembering his existence unless compelled to do so. His sister had married Baron Greff, a Petersburg official of her father's type. Ivan Ilyitch was le phénix de la famille, as people said. He was neither as cold and formal as his elder brother, nor as wild as the younger, but was a happy mean between them. An intelligent, polished, lively, and agreeable man. He had studied with his younger brother at the School of Law, but the latter had failed to complete the course and was expelled when he was in the 5th class. Ivan Ilyitch finished the course well. Even when he was at the School of Law, he was just what he remained for the rest of his life, a capable, cheerful, good-natured, and sociable man, though strict in the fulfillment of what he considered to be his duty. And he considered his duty to be what was so considered by those in authority. Neither as a boy nor as a man was he a toady, but from early youth was by nature attracted to people of high station as a fly is drawn to the light, assimilating their ways and views of life and establishing friendly relations with them. All the enthusiasms of childhood and youth passed without leaving much trace on him. He succumbed to sensuality, to vanity, and latterly among the highest classes to liberalism, but always within limits which his instinct unfailingly indicated to him as correct. At school he had done things which had formerly seemed to him very horrid, and made him feel disgusted with himself when he did them. But when later on he saw that such actions were done by people of good position, and that they did not regard them as wrong, he was able not exactly to regard them as right, but to forget about them entirely, or not be at all troubled at remembering them. Having graduated from the School of Law, and qualified for the 10th rank of the civil service, and having received money from his father for his equipment, Ivan Ilyitch ordered himself clothes at Sharma's, the fashionable tailor, hung a medallion inscribed Respice Finem on his watch-chain, took leave of his professor and the prince, who was patron of the school, had a farewell dinner with his comrades at Donon's first-class restaurant, and with his new and fashionable portmanteau, linen, clothes, shaving and other toilet appliances, and a travelling rug, all purchased at the best shops, he set off for one of the provinces where, through his father's influence, he had been attached to the governor as an official for special service. In the province, Ivan Ilyitch soon arranged as easy and agreeable a position for himself as he had had at the School of Law. He performed his official task, made his career, and at the same time amused himself pleasantly and decorously. Occasionally he paid official visits to country districts, where he behaved with dignity both to his superiors and inferiors, and performed the duties entrusted to him, which related chiefly to the sectarians, with an exactness and incorruptible honesty of which he could not but feel proud. In official matters, despite his youth and taste for frivolous gaiety, he was exceedingly reserved, punctilious, and even severe. But in society he was often amusing and witty, and always good-natured, correct in his manner, and bon enfant, as the governor and his wife, with whom he was like one of the family, used to say of him. In the province he had an affair with a lady who made advances to the elegant young lawyer, and there was also a milliner, and there were carousals with aides-de-camp who visited the district, and after-supper visits to a certain outlying street of doubtful reputation, and there was, too, some obsequiousness to his chief and even to his chief's wife. But all this was done with such a tone of good breeding that no hard names could be applied to it. It all came under the heading of the French saying, "Il faut que jeunesse se passe." It was all done with clean hands, in clean linen, with French phrases, and above all among people of the best society, and consequently with the approval of people of rank. So Ivan Ilyich served for 5 years, and then came a change in his official life. The new and reformed judicial institutions were introduced, and new men were needed. Ivan Ilyich became such a new man. He was offered the post of examining magistrate, and he accepted it, though the post was in another province, and obliged him to give up the connections he had formed and to make new ones. His friends met to give him a send-off. They had a group photograph taken, and presented him with a silver cigarette case, and he set off to his new post. As examining magistrate, Ivan Ilyich was just as comme il faut and decorous a man, inspiring general respect and capable of separating his official duties from his private life, as he had been when acting as an official on special service. His duties now, as examining magistrate, were far more interesting and attractive than before. In his former position it had been pleasant to wear an undress uniform made by Sharma, and to pass through the crowd of petitioners and officials who were timorously awaiting an audience with the governor, and who envied him as with free and easy gait he went straight into his chief's private room to have a cup of tea and a cigarette with him. But not many people had then been directly dependent on him, only police officials and the sectarians when he went on special missions, and he liked to treat them politely, almost as comrades, as if he were letting them feel that he who had the power to crush them was treating them in this simple, friendly way. There were then but few such people. But now, as an examining magistrate, Ivan Ilyich felt that everyone, without exception, even the most important and self-satisfied, was in his power, and that he need only write a few words on a sheet of paper with a certain heading, and this or that important, self-satisfied person would be brought before him in the role of an accused person or a witness, and if he did not choose to allow him to sit down, would have to stand before him and answer his questions. Ivan Ilyich never abused his power. He tried, on the contrary, to soften its expression, but the consciousness of it, and the possibility of softening its effect, supplied the chief interest and attraction of his office. In his work itself, especially in his examinations, he very soon acquired a method of eliminating all considerations irrelevant to the legal aspect of the case, and reducing even the most complicated case to a form in which it would be presented on paper only in its externals, completely excluding his personal opinion of the matter, while above all observing every prescribed formality. The work was new, and Ivan Ilyich was one of the first men to apply the new Code of 1864. On taking up the post of examining magistrate in a new town, he made new acquaintances and connections, placed himself on a new footing, and assumed a somewhat different tone. He took up an attitude of rather dignified aloofness towards the provincial authorities, but picked out the best circle of legal gentlemen and wealthy gentry living in the town, and assumed a tone of slight dissatisfaction with the government, of moderate liberalism, and of enlightened citizenship.